中文的伴侣姐妹。
Today, I will be sharing something extraordinary, a language that speaks not just in words, but in whisper of history, emotion, and sisterhood. It is called Nushu. What is Nushu? Simply put, it is a special kind of writing made only by women in a part of China called Jiangyong County. The name literally means women's script. Think of it as a secret code that women created to talk to each other when they weren't allowed to learn regular Chinese writing. Here's the thing, back then, women weren't allowed to go to school or read and write like men did. But they still wanted to share stories, feelings, and advice. So they invented this beautiful, delicate script with about 600 to 700 characters. Each character stands for a sound or syllable kind of like letters in our alphabet. The oldest known artifact with Nushu writing is a bronze coin found in Nanjing, the capital of Jiangsu province in China. It was made during the time of the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, a rebel group that ruled from 1851 to 1864. This group made some changes to improve society and also supported some ideas about equal rights for men and women. The coin has 8 Nushu characters that say, all the women in the world are members of the same family. What's really cool is that Nushu looks totally different from regular Chinese writing. It's made of tiny dots and strokes that look like little rhombus shapes, almost like a secret handwriting style only women could read. And get this way, they use Nushu to write letters, poems, songs, and even little books they give to daughters when they get married. It was their way of bonding, sharing secrets, and supporting each other in a world where women's voices were often ignored.
So who are involved with Nushu? The Chinese women who lacked access to education in reading and writing are the ones who primarily used and developed the Nushu. It was taught to women and passed down by their mothers or grandmothers and was kept secret from men. Let us know some names who are also involved with Nushu. Yang Huanyi is one of the proficient user of Nushu, and she was the last one native user of it, and she passed away in 2004. And during the early 1980s, Nushu had brought up the attention of scholars as they rediscovered it from a scholar and researcher before, which was Zhu Shui, who is also the first man to master Nushu. Zhu Shui's documentations of script during the 1950s and researches contributed a lot to preserve and raise awareness of the unique script Nushu. Even though when the Cultural Revolution erupted during the 1960s and his work got targeted by the state and even burned his research files, after his release, he continued his work on translating Nushu scripts to Chinese. And in year 2003, a year before the fluent native user of Nushu passed away, which was Yang Huanyi, Zhu Shui published the first Nushu dictionary. And today, the ones who are involved in Nushu are the scholars studying the script, cultural preservationists, artists and writers, and a growing number of younger women learning and celebrating the language. The country's local and national authorities are working to revive it.
How was sure that? What a familiar surname, isn't it? Well, that's because I live in the barriers of the West Philippine Sea and South China Sea, which basically means that I am half Filipino and part Chinese. And with that, the surname Tan was born in China. And Tan Dun, a relative of mine, stated that 这不就本帮助酱油妇女卡干累累 He said that the script called Nushu helped women in Jiangyong to dry their tears. Thus, in a world full of
其西祥
takes over the generations, an ancient millennia produced their own language through blood, sweat, and tears. The Jiangyong County was located in the Hunan province of southern China, and that is where the so-called script or secret language itself originated from. Furthermore, the city is surrounded by mountains and rivers, which makes the environment serene and picturesque. Thus, Jiangyong is also considered to be the center of women cultural expression due to its historical significance because of the Nushu situation. But despite its serene outlook, a dark past it holds for the women living in there during the ancient period. Despite it all, the language not only existed in China, but it was also derived from the United States, Netherlands, and Japan through symphonic poems. Thus, Tandun further refers to the script as musical notes flying along in the winds, which then influenced the birth of Nushu or the secret songs of women. Thus, this then proves that it not only existed within China, as the Nushu script is a global culture that holds women's resilience, which belongs to the world.
This special script was created because women were not allowed to learn regular writing. It existed for about 1,000 years, from around the Song Dynasty until the early 2000s. To help you better understand, I'm going to share you a little story. Imagine this conversation between a young woman and an older woman from a village.
Grandma, I kept hearing about the secret writing called Nüshu. What was it exactly?
Nushu is a secret script made by women, just for women. It started about 1,000 years ago, 1025 to be exact, in our village. Women were not allowed to write regular writing, so we created our own.
Wow, that's so clever. But why was it a secret?
Because men were not allowed to know it. It is our way to express our thoughts, letters, and feelings that we couldn't say out loud.
Did you ever write Nüshu yourself?
Of course. Here, try this character.
Wow, this is incredible.
You know, I am one of the last person who truly knows it.
Really? Who are you, Grandma? You seem so wise.
I'm Yang Huai, the last person who can truly live and write Nushu for me this 2000.
You are the real Yang Huani?
Yes, but let's keep this a secret between us.
Of course, I promise.
That story shows how Nushu was more than just a writing. It was a secret sisterhood, a way for women to connect and share their lives when the world wouldn't listen. Nushu existed for nearly 100 years, and thanks to people like Yang Huaini, its legacy lives on.
Women used Nushu to write letters, poetry, and songs, often forming close bonds known as sworn sisterhoods, and became a symbol of resilience and solidarity among women.
Philippines, some circumstances might suggest the need for a secret language or may lead to a Nushu-like situation, as it is still unfortunately evident that there are divisions among the marginalized groups. For instance, certain communities such as the LGBTQIA+ experience social stigma and violence, whereas the indigenous people face language endangerment due to discrimination.
However, unlike in the other past, the latter rather prefer activism and visibility than secrecy. And the former, inclusion but also struggle with the preservation of their language, as they often shift to mainstream languages, which is why they are unlikely to create their secret script.
Anyway, thus, in this generation, while discrimination and negativity do exist in the country, people are actually now more open to such issues, which would make it unnecessary for such cases to reach a severe level that will influence the need for a secret communication which is not intelligible to most people, especially those who are against them, since it would defeat the purpose of them standing up and actually speaking out for their privilege and their liberty as an individual or even as an entire community.